I feel stuck in this thing I call mediocre, and I want to take me out of it. Holy moly, help me. What do I need to do to get out of this? Hi, my name is Emille Bryant, and you're in lesson 1 of Awaken to Brazen Creativity. And this is a course that I created because I never celebrated life the way Super Bowl winning football players do. Have you ever seen those guys? Man, when they celebrate, their entire being is celebrating. It's big, it's bad. I mean, these guys are spiking balls and high-fiving and chest bouncing, and they're doing all these dances. Have you ever felt like that on your job? When was the last time you high-fived somebody like that with your whole soul into it? That's amazing to me, and I want to feel like that all the time. But I'm not going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not a football player. Hey, I wasn't even good at track when I ran it. So apparently we're going to have to do something different. And welcome to lesson 1 of Awaken to Brazen Creativity, where we do just that. We start thinking differently. You see, one of the reasons why we don't feel that way is because we're stuck in something I call amplified mediocrity. Now, let me tell you about it. During this lesson, we're going to break down amplified mediocrity. Amplified mediocrity is this taste. It's a malaise you feel. It's in your mouth. It really gets in your skin. You feel it. You know it's there. You don't know what to do about it. You hate it. But you look around and you're trying to figure out what's going on. I have a good car, good house, good spouse, great kids, went on vacation, saw Mount Rushmore, went to Disney World, saw Yellowstone National Park. I have a good life. Hey, I even went to Fiji or Hawaii or Machu Picchu. See? I biked 20 miles last week. I'm good. Except you feel it, you taste it, it's there. What is this? I traveled all across the country when I released my first book, Start With a Sparkle. And I talked to people from East Coast to West Coast, and I learned something that I didn't know was there. That people are feeling this malaise. It wasn't just me. They're frustrated because they are not tapping into the best part of who they are. They go to work, they go home, they pay bills, and they have this thing that they can't describe. It's a malaise that I call amplified mediocrity, and I was so frustrated I had to do something about it. So I did. I wrote this course called Awaken to Brazen Creativity, the antidote to amplified mediocrity. This antidote is something that you can do right now. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to quit your job, divorce your spouse, or change out your kids for 2 new ones. Don't do that, by the way. The reason why we're here is because you and I feel the same way, that there's something missing from what we should be doing every day. But what do we do about that? Well, I wrote this course, and you're going to take this course with me, and I'm giving away this lesson. This is lesson 1 of 6, and I'm giving it away entirely free because I want to share with people this feeling I call amplified mediocrity. This malaise permeates so many people's lives, and it just sits there sucking the life out of each of us, slowly sapping our energy. We just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. We don't want to go do anything. We certainly don't want to change anything because, oh my gosh, we might find ourselves without a job or without a way to pay the bills. In my world, mediocre, which I'm trying to take me out of all the time, stands for my excellence, demands ideas over carefully rehearsed excuses. Mediocre really is a warning. If you look around and everything's good and nothing's great and you're not high-fiving for something you did recently, like a Super Bowl player does when they win, maybe you need to look at yourself and ask, I'm in mediocre. I'm surrounded by it. I'm swimming in it. Mediocre really means my energy, my excellence, my enthusiasm. Demand ideas or initiative over carefully rehearsed excuses. And we all have these carefully rehearsed excuses. We know them well because we rehearse them all the time. I got bills to pay. These kids ain't gonna feed themselves. Oh, my boss would never let me do that. Why do I want to go there? Oh, that's too hard. Let someone else handle it. These carefully rehearsed excuses sap our energy, our creativity. And they tell us that we have to stay here. So I'm going to break down a lot of these different things in this lesson. It'll take us about a half hour. But before we get too far, I want to talk to you about how this course works. See, Awaken to Brazen Creativity is a 6-lesson course, and each one of the lessons is about a half hour. But I need you to do me a favor. If you're going to take the whole course, you need to start with a fresh notebook. Not one with words or doodles in it already, fresh. See, we're going to ask you to think. I thought to make this course, I thought before I made this course, and I'm going to think after I made this course. But in order to really capture those thoughts, I have to have a place to write down. And what I don't want to do is go past the carefully rehearsed excuses in an old notebook to start writing fresh notes about something that's asking me to change how I think about my life and my future. So I ask you to start with a blank notebook. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to, by the way, have a couple of fresh pens. Is that fair? Is if you're going to take this course, I'm going to ask you to slow down and take it. What that means is, unlike a course where you can get a certification or a certificate or something like that, this is not that kind of course. This is completely different. So slow down. It's only a half hour, but in this half hour, I'm going to challenge you. It's going to be controversial. I guarantee you somewhere in the process, you'll yell at me. You'll say, that ain't right. You'll point at the screen. You'll walk away in disgust. Or worse, you'll start thinking. And when you start thinking about what I said, that's when you're really going to grind your teeth. And that's good. I want you to have these thoughts and feelings about the things that are challenging what you call normal. Because mediocre, you're surrounded by good. And I'm going to ask you to challenge your notion of that. So what I'm asking you to do is take 3 days per lesson. The first day, I want you to just digest what I have to say, receive it. The second day, I just want you to think. At the end of every lesson, there will be 5 reflection questions. Those 5 questions help you kind of get the juices flowing to just thinking about the things that were presented, maybe some details of your life, some aspects of the future that you maybe haven't even thought of or haven't had the time to think about. So a day to just receive the information, a day to just think. Just chew on it. Wake up in the morning, go over the reflection questions, and then just think. Go about your day and just kind of mull on it, chew on it a little bit. And on the third day, journal. This is where the blank journal comes in handy. If you need to type it out, that's fine. Use a blank file. Just don't use something where you have to bypass the carefully rehearsed excuses to get to it. And begin to journal what you're feeling. Answer the reflection questions as a starting point. Go a little bit deeper. Take the time. You may take 2 or 3 days just to journal because you may find yourself flooded with thoughts, and that's good. But about 3 days, 1 to receive the information, 1 to think about the information, and a day to journal. If you do that, then you'll be on the path toward becoming a brazen creative. See, if you do it the way I asked you to do it, 3 days per lesson, it'll take you about 3 weeks to take the course. And in that 3 weeks will really transform the way you're thinking, just like it did for me. It took me months to get all this down and write it up and present it to you the way I'm doing it now. But in the process, much of the time I spent developing this course was thinking. It wasn't web surfing. It wasn't looking in books at the library. It was literally thinking. Because as I listened to people from all across the country and I began to hear the commonality between people in LA and Seattle and Portland, the people in Colorado Springs and Denver, the people in Atlanta and Charlotte, the people in Washington, D.C., I began to see this common thread. I called it amplified mediocrity. It's this malaise, but there's more to it. They also were hungry for a way to get past it. And very few people are presenting a way to identify this feeling and then get past it. So in this first lesson, that I'm giving away for free, the whole point is to identify what it feels like. And then at the end of feeling this way, you'll want to change some things about what you think and then what you do. So that's kind of the preamble to the lesson itself. So let's get started, shall we? A long time ago, you were taught a scale. This scale was really, really important. When you were in kindergarten, they teach you, here's how you measure your success. Are you sitting in the right seat? Good. Are you coloring within the lines? Good. Do you know your math table? Good. Do you know how to write your name? Good. These good things were the basis of the amplified mediocrity we feel, because that scale, which is actually outstanding for kindergartners, is terrible for a 40-year-old father of 2. I was that father. And that frustration of having the scale that was made for me by someone not me demanded my energy, my excellence, my enthusiasm, demand ideas over carefully rehearsed excuses. Demanded that I try something different, but I didn't know what. So I focused on what I had. And I had a good life. My kids are beautiful. They're amazing kids. I had a great job. I was in the Air Force for 20 years. I retired as a lieutenant colonel. I was making good money in Washington, D.C. before I retired. It wasn't that I had a car. Of course, I had a car note like everybody else, a little bit of debt like everybody else, but nothing was unmanageable. Yet here I was feeling this malaise. But that time, I did not have a name for it, by the way. It was just my feeling. Taste in the mouth. What I found out as I began to dissect this process of trying to articulate amplified mediocrity is that this scale that was given to me, not just by my kindergarten teacher, but by my parents who told me to be good. I mean, think about it. Your parents tell you, if you believe in Santa Claus, jolly old Saint Nick is watching, and you better be naughty or nice. Synonym for nice is good, by the way. And if we have good surrounding us, we go to church and they say, here's how you be a good Christian. We go to mosque, here's how to be a good Muslim. We go to temple, here's how to be a good Jew. Everybody's telling us how to be good. Who's telling us, teaching us how to be great? How to define success on our own terms? Who's giving us that scale? I'll tell you, one of the frustrations I felt is that everybody was so willing to help me be good. Very few people were helping me be great. And they certainly weren't helping me define success as I define it. They weren't saying, here's how you should think about success, and then here's how you should define it for yourself, and here's how you should pursue it for yourself. So I grow up and I go through kindergarten and grade school, I get to high school, and then I get to college. And I went to the Air Force Academy because I didn't want 4 years of fun. I wanted 4 years of hard work surrounded by a military environment with the sole purpose of serving my nation at the end. And I did everything they told me to do. I got the degree. I got the job. I got married. I had 2 beautiful kids. I was living good life. In 1998, I ran out of goals. I was so good. Can you imagine running out of goals? I mean, the big life goals, the stuff that should take years to do. I ran out of those goals at 28 years old. I had done everything. See, the problem I didn't realize at the time, and if you read my book, you'll get the really detailed answer to this. But what I didn't realize at the time is that I had set my goals so low because someone else's scale is all that I followed. I had set my goals so low that I was racing to achieve them, and I did exactly what I set out to do. I achieved everything I set out to do. What I thought would take me at least 10 years took me 5. I don't have super horsepower up here. I'm not brilliant in the context of Einstein or Edison or some of these great characters from our past, Lewis Latimer or George Washington Carver. Nope, I am a pretty regular guy, but I do realize that I have untapped creative power in my mind. And the first time I felt that was in 1998 when I had reached all my goals and felt into this deep, deep malaise. I was living, swimming in, sitting in, getting entrenched in amplified mediocrity, and I didn't know it. I didn't have a name for it. My family loved me through it. I got out of it. I set some more goals. I was able to achieve wonderful things in the Air Force. I retired as a lieutenant colonel. I had a great career. It was amazing. But it still wasn't, when I retired, that feeling I had when I graduated from the Air Force Academy. The only time I've ever felt like a Super Bowl winning linebacker is when I graduated from the Air Force Academy. I retired from the military after 20 years of service, and I still, when I high-fived my best friends, I loved on my family, and I still didn't feel like those Super Bowl winning linebackers feel. I can tell you the difference. If you'd filmed me at that time, I wasn't bouncing off of people and chest bumping and high-fiving and throwing elbows and hooting and hollering and taking selfies, looking at myself. I wasn't doing that. You know what I was doing? Good. Really good. I smiled and I got the certificates and I did the things they told me to do, and I still had the taste. See, the problem is that scale is not for you. It never was meant for you. It wasn't meant for me. It wasn't meant for us. We're not supposed to use that scale at 40 that they gave us in kindergarten, but nobody says, oh, by the way, all those lessons were just to help you get started. Now you figure out your best self and you go do it. They didn't tell you that. The reason why is because it's so much easier to just keep you in that track. Do this and you'll do good. Get an A in calculus and you'll be ready for college. Get an A in college calculus, you'll be ready for life. Get an A in master's degree and you'll be ready to run your business. Get an A in your PhD and you'll be ready to run a school. See, but rarely do they say, here's how you get an A and feeling like an amazing human being for doing something you set out to do that is only yours to decide. They didn't. In fact, there are people that we label as crazy or eccentric because they went out and pursued the thing that they said they'd do. Some of those people, we make fun of them because they have weird hair or because they're obsessed with something. We're going to talk about Thomas Edison in the rest of the course because there are some amazing things about that man. There are other inventors, McCoy, Latimer. There are some really amazing people in American history, but I'm going to use Edison because he's common to all of us. He's in all our history books. Everybody knows him, but there are some things about him that are amazing, and I'm going to use one of his quotes, one of my favorite quotes from him. See, I told you earlier that we have to think. Well, the problem is we don't think enough. When I say think, I'm not talking about common sense. I'm not talking about solving a problem like that. I'm talking about deep pondering. Slow, deliberate. What's the answer to these questions that I'm feeling? And Thomas Edison said, I paraphrase, but he said, to the one who thinks, there is no greater pleasure. Thinking is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And the malaise of amplified mediocrity keeps us from doing that deep thinking that Edison called a great pleasure. I want you, like I want it for myself, to express the best part of who I am or who you are. But to do that, we have to first identify this amplified mediocrity. And one of the problems with amplified mediocrity is the moment we begin to think about breaking out of it, someone's going to label us crazy or eccentric or something like that. You're a granola for being healthy. You're a gym rat because you want to work out. Oh, you are one of those people. And so we have these potential labels and therefore these fears about these labels that prevent us from ever really breaking out of good. I'm not telling you that what we've been told is wrong. I'm not saying that because I believe in a lot of stuff. My kids were vaccinated at a young age because that's important to me. But think. Take time to just slow down and think. Amplified mediocrity doesn't give you that time because you're too busy working on good. The antidote to amplified mediocrity is Brazen Creativity. The course is Awaken to Brazen Creativity. The core reason why I'm doing this lesson for free is to break down what amplified mediocrity means. And that scale that we were told to use that's really foreign to us should be personal to us. We're going to develop that scale in the next several lessons. So join me in the rest of the course and let's talk about how we can do amplified mediocrity and find its antidote, Brazen Creativity. I'll see you soon. Cheers. As I said earlier, there are 5 reflection questions. They're kind of like multi-part questions. So bear with me. Go slow. I'll go slowly so you can hear each one. 1. And remember, before you get started on the next lesson, answer these. 1. Am I joyous? Am I a success as I define? Why do I define success the way I do? And who told me to use that definition or those words and terms to define success? Why did they give that to me? 2. Why do I do the work I do? Is it what I love to do? Or does it fund what I love to do? 3. What should I be doing with my energy, excellence, and enthusiasm? 4. Whom do I perceive as crazy because they're focused on something they love? Is it okay for them to be that driven? And is it okay for me to be that driven? And 5, have I truly taken time to think about my current situation, about who I am and who I want to be? And do I let other people tell me what's right for me? Or do I define it for myself? Answering these questions is not a matter of writing down the answer in your blank journal. It's actually an exercise in thinking. And you may go off on tangents and flights of fancy well beyond what I just questioned. Well beyond these questions, excuse me. But in fact, if you start there and take a day to just think, when it comes time to journal, you'll amaze yourself at what you find out. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, even as you begin this process. I'll see you in the next lesson.